Tonight at 10, one family says they won't have peace until the teen arrested in the death of a 93-year-old grandmother gets convicted. His arrest took more than a year and a half.
And this was scary and wild. A shootout in the middle of the day, a 10-year-old child caught in the middle of it, and now we know how it started.
A 25-year-old man is accused of attempted kidnapping after showing up at the mayor of Memphis's front door late Sunday night.
So the National Guard is being sent to the city of Memphis, Tennessee, after the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago completely refused to go ahead and cooperate with the federal government. And just doing a deeper dive into what's going on in the city of Memphis, it is unsurprising. I've seen Memphis at the top of lists showing it as the most dangerous city in the state and in the country for years. But actually going in and looking at some of these stories, it is absolutely out of control and way beyond time the federal government should have intervened. Take a look at a couple of more of these stories.
He's been busy, and we found out he's been accused of even more crimes since the death of that grandmother. WRG's Brian Didlake has been following this story and has the very latest. And Brian, what else have you learned?
Well, Greg, Stephanie, the suspect, Darian Taylor, was brought in by U.S. Marshals. But when we looked into Taylor's past, we learned that he had charges from not one state, but two.
I was relieved for my family because there's always the threat with him on the street that there might be some violence against a family member.
For more than a year and a half, Ronald Harris says fear of retaliation was a constant for his family. U.S. Marshals sending out this image of the capture of 18-year-old Darian Taylor. Taylor is accused of killing Harris's mother, 93-year-old Geraldine, and injuring two other family members back in January of last year. At the time of Harris's death, Taylor was 17 and now 18, but since then he has racked up several charges in two states. The first, WRG learned, was out of West Memphis in January of this year, where Taylor and others were arrested for theft after a series of smash and grabs. Fast forward 4 months to May, we saw Taylor end up facing even more charges, theft-related, just days apart. He posted bond, but less than 5 days later ended up back in trouble after being accused of stealing Mercedes-Benz vehicle parts in a separate stolen vehicle, which had not yet been reported. But Harris says outside of Taylor's troubled past, a more serious concern with the court process.
So you see there, this 18-year-old boy, I'm not even going to call him a man, an 18-year-old boy, went into a house, shot two people, and unalived a 93-year-old woman. Think about how bereft of morality you have to be to murder a 93-year-old woman. And then you see his arrest record, before that, he'd been arrested multiple times, smash and grabs, theft, crimes in other states. If this young man had just been made to sit behind bars until he got to trial, that 93-year-old woman would still be alive.
They were trying to rob somebody for a pair of shoes. This happened a week ago, March 7th, on Yale Road between Raleigh and Bartlett. Memphis police say there was a group of 5 young people, one of them only 10, trying to steal shoes from somebody outside a convenience store. Well, the person ran inside the store, and that's when somebody in that car sitting across the lot, look at it, see the gun poke out? Yeah. Opening fire on those kids. Well, they have a gun too, and they shoot back. It doesn't appear anybody was hit, but later the person, it appears to be a child whose shoes they were trying to steal, they came up on him, and he runs for help.
Really? A shootout over trying to steal the shoes of a 10-year-old kid? That's what we're doing in Memphis? We're trying to rob a 10-year-old kid of his shoes. Obviously that kid didn't buy his own shoes. His parents bought him those shoes. Why are you jealous of the shoes of a 10-year-old kid? And then you look at this footage and you see multiple teenagers shooting at one another. All of them have handguns. What is going on in the city of Memphis?
Trenton Apston made his first court appearance today, accused of trying to kidnap Memphis Mayor Paul Young at his home on Sunday night.
Raise your right hand. You swear?
The 25-year-old was arrested and charged with attempted kidnapping and stalking. Police say they found a taser, rope, gloves, and duct tape in his car.
He's very remorseful, and he said that, Uncle Reggie, I wish I had done something a little bit different.
I don't know about you, but I hadn't even heard anything about this story, that this 25-year-old young black man tried to kidnap the mayor of Memphis. You tried to kidnap the mayor of Memphis, and then you got caught, and now you've got your uncle saying, oh, he said he's very remorseful. Guess what? No one cares. You went and bought rope and duct tape and did whatever you tried to do, that you tried to kidnap the mayor of a major metropolitan city. No one cares about your contrition and remorse. You need to sit behind bars for at least, I don't know, 10, 15 years, kidnapping a mayor of a major metropolitan city. And now, having seen that story, which I have not heard anything about this story in the major mainstream media, because of course, you know, when anything like this happens in a blue state, you know, they try to, you know, make it sound like, oh, everything, you know, the red states are more dangerous, and Trump is just trying to go after the blue states and the blue cities in the blue states. But here you have this happening. Nobody's talking about this in the national media. This should have been a story all over the country. But now it kind of makes sense why Mayor Young is cooperating with sending in the National Guard. He can't keep himself safe. He almost got kidnapped. Does anyone seriously believe that if there's an attempt for your mayor to be a credible attempt for your mayor to get kidnapped by a 25-year-old kid, if he can't protect himself, how can we take him seriously that he's going to be able to protect the citizens of the city where he is mayor?
According to Memphis police, 7 shootings have been reported since last Friday morning, one incident leading to a homicide in South Memphis. But it's one shooting incident that happened during broad daylight Saturday morning that has some Memphians wondering if the National Guard will make any real change. A shooting in broad daylight near A.W. Willis Avenue and Front Street in downtown Memphis Saturday morning has some Bluff City residents wondering if the National Guard coming will change the city's crime reputation.
No, it ain't gonna bring the change that we need to see, but it might help with the crime a little bit. But change, it's gonna take more than some police to come down here for to change the city.
We're going to Memphis.
Since President Trump uttered these words on Friday, according to Memphis police, 7 shootings were reported. In 3 of those cases, MPD made an arrest. One resulted in a homicide. Memphis resident Asaya Cobb claims the shooting incident on Saturday morning will continue with.
All right, let's go back. Take a look at that. I want you to go back and look at that for just a second. You see these 2 young men, they get out of this car, they leave the doors open. The one man here, you know, in the white shirt on the right, looks like he's got a rifle, a semi-automatic rifle. The other young man looks like he has a handgun, but they're allowing the car to just idle. And they had to have practiced this, because they get out of the car with their guns, they allow the car to idle, and they know that they have enough time that they can allow the car to idle, and then they can finish shooting and then jump back in the car and drive away. They're doing this in broad daylight. This is the state of what's going on in the city of Memphis. This is what's going on in the city of Memphis right now. And you've got these mayors in these blue cities that need help. The local police can't do the job. But because it's Trump who wants to send in the National Guard, they can't accept the help.
Will continue with or without troops being deployed to the area.
I do feel like crime happens everywhere, but I just think it was crazy that it just happened in broad daylight like that. And I think these are target shootings, not just...
See them right there? They're running back to the car. They had to have practiced this a bunch of times. You don't just do that on the first time, just jump out of your car and just let it idle down the street and you know that you're going to be able to make it back.
Going on a rampage on people.
Jules Simpson, a lifelong Memphis resident, believes the troops coming to Memphis is a waste of financial resources.
I don't think that it's actually about trying to help Memphis at all. I think that it's posturing and bullying, and it's completely unnecessary.
Again, MPD has made 3 arrests in the 7 reported shootings since last Friday. Police will continue searching for those suspects from Saturday's shooting.
How are Memphians feeling about the idea of federal troops patrolling the streets? WRAG's Harrison Klopp is checking the community's pulse tonight.
On a beautiful Wednesday afternoon in Overton Park, many Memphians are enjoying themselves, while others, like Gerald Tabor and Cortez Wells, are contemplating the future of the Bluff City after rumors of the National Guard coming to Memphis.
You're here to bring chaos, bro. It's already bullcrap here, enough bullcrap. They're gonna bring chaos because people feel like they're being targeted at that point.
Gerald Tabor says local and federal officials should be looking at the root causes of crime instead of bringing in the Guard.
In order for you to have to think about crime in Memphis, you have to get to the root cause of the crime. Where there's poverty, there's going to be crime.
Tabor added those resources could go into building the community.
Put more effort into trying to rebuild a community, creating jobs and stuff that, fill people's time. So put them people in that type of situation, what do you expect them to do?
And this is why we always hear these same talking points. Take that money that you're using to send the National Guard and create jobs. Can we please just stop with this ignorant talking point? The government doesn't create jobs. Private industry creates jobs. Private people create jobs. And guess what? If they don't feel safe in a particular area, they're not going to take their hard-earned money and go and buy a building or hire people or whatever. You're not going to take your money and put it at risk if you don't feel safe. So no, poverty does not cause crime. Crime causes poverty. And if you want to get rid of the poverty, you've got to stop the crime. The only way you're going to stop the crime is to drop the hammer on places like Memphis and let people know, these individuals who are committing this antisocial behavior, the hammer has to drop and let them know, time's up, line in the sand, no more.
FBI Director Kash Patel has called Memphis the homicide capital of America. Tabor feels that if the police can't fix the crime, what will the National Guard do?
The police ain't fix the crime, and they paid to do it. What is the National Guard coming here going to do?
And I understand the local news, they have to go and have a conversation with, local residents in the area and try to get their feedback. But that young man, I wouldn't let that man alphabetize my M&Ms. I wouldn't let that young man give me advice about anything. You have to get the crime under control. Then resources come in. Then employers come in. Then commerce returns. Then people will have access to jobs. I, for one, am glad to see. I wish the National Guard had come to Chicago. But since Trump didn't have the cooperation of Brandon Johnson and Governor Pritzker, let's go ahead and send them to the city that's the most dangerous. You kept hearing people on the left saying, oh, Trump is just trying to send the National Guard to Chicago because it's a black mayor in a blue city, in a blue state, and all the crime is in the red states. Why don't you send the National Guard there? Well, now they're sending the National Guard there, and these people are still complaining. They don't have the answers themselves. If they had the answers themselves, they would have solved it. And guess what? Sending billions of dollars to these poorly run blue states is not the answer, because you can't even trust these people to spend the money wisely. They certainly haven't spent the money wisely that they've received up until this point. So yeah, send in the National Guard, fortify the local police, get the crime under control, and everything else will straighten itself out. This is the David Seaton Show. I'll catch you in the next one.